You're watching The Ryan Silverfield Show, presented by AutoZone.
The season is right around the corner, and we're getting you ready for Tiger football like no one else can. We'll sit down with Coach Silverfield, both coordinators, and some of the biggest names on the team. Memphis football is back, and so is The Ryan Silverfield Show. Let's go.
Game is on.
The Ryan Silverfield Show is presented by AutoZone. When you've got car trouble, you want help from number one. So if you've got a battery problem, head to AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone. And by Conway Services, the official HVAC partner of Tiger Athletics. Chick-fil-A, we didn't invent chicken, just the chicken sandwich. RJ Young, technology solutions that power your business. Tennessee Lottery, turning dollars into dreams.
It's that time of year again. Welcome to the Ryan Silverfield Preview Show. I'm Dave Willocean.
And I'm Doc Holliday. Game one, the Tigers against Bethune-Cookman. Let's see what head coach Ryan Silverfield has to say.
Year 4 of your era. Hard to believe, 8 years you have been here. How is this summer different from every other summer?
Yeah, well, we know, right, in year 8, things have obviously changed quite a bit over college football, especially in the past 4 years since I've been the head coach here. But it's been quite unique. You know, we'll continue to have summer access. But I think this year more than ever, what makes it so different is the change in the roster, right? We're seeing a lot of new faces. We're trying to build team bonding, camaraderie, all those things that go along with getting ready for, September 2nd. So I think this summer what we've done is getting a feel, what is this guy, what are his unique attributes? How does he learn? How does he get along with these other guys? Where do they fit in our scheme? And I think that's what's making it so unique. Usually you get through the spring, you've got a good understanding of what you have, still added some new faces to it. But it's been a lot of fun. I'm really excited about this group.
And talk about that bonding that you all have been able to get in the summer, because when you have those new faces, a lot of times it goes from spring to fall, and then fall they're lost. But just talk about how important it is to get those new faces in and to have this summertime together.
Yeah, that's such part of it. I mean, these guys spend so many hours up here at the facility. They work hard in the locker room, spending time, bonding time, getting to know each other. And it's just so important, because reality of it is that time off the field is what will make a difference on the field. And people say, well, what do you mean by that? But not only that, the communication. Maybe it's an offensive lineman that's never played next to the other guy, right? Now all of a sudden they're able to chum it up in the cafeteria or spend time doing things off the field. And just, maybe it's a guy that just transferred in, getting to know a true freshman and kind of showing him the ropes of what college football is all about. But I think, it's building that trust, that bond. So when stuff's on the line and it's 4th and 1, they can trust each other and go out there. So it's all part of it. And, we always talk about team over me, building that team aspect as, these things continue to become individualized, understand what's most important for our program.
Along the theme of team, I have never heard you almost giddy in these preseason interviews about your depth. Where do you feel most confident about, or there could be several areas?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, I think we talk about you always want to build depth. It's a long season. Hopefully we're playing 14 games this year. And I think the understanding of there's going to be, the reality of it, there's going to be guys that are going to get nicked up and injured. It's part of it. Obviously, we hope not, and we hope we can play those guys. But also, if you have depth, it allows you to be a little bit fresh in the fourth quarter. You guys have heard me use the term finish, right, this offseason, and that's something that I think if we're fresh and we have depth, it'll allow us to finish games to the better way that we need to. But the depth, you look at it, talk about the running back room, which I know we're going to talk about here soon, but excited about those guys we have in there. We have a bunch of guys that are college football starters in that room, guys that have started college football games, and that's exciting. Then you look at the depth of our secondary, and you guys that have been around the program the last few years have never said, well, you got some players here or there, but to talk about the depth of the secondary, feeling really comfortable with a lot of those guys back there, it's quite exciting.
Now, Coach, talking about depth, since I'm a former Memphis Tiger running back, I remember my freshman year I got out here, we had 13 running backs. Now, the coaches like that, but as far as running backs, as a running back, you don't want to see all
no
those
question.
Dudes, man. So, but just talk about just having that depth and how much leeway that gives you, having 2, 3, 4 guys you can count on.
Yeah, Doc, I think that's as important as anything is, right? We know that position, right? They're going to take some hits, they're going to do those different things. I always say this, we've got a lot of guys that can do it. I don't want to go into a season and say, hey, we're going to get a 6-man rotation at running back, because then that means guys that are the bell cows aren't necessarily getting the carries necessary. But we've narrowed it down, I think, through the spring ball and then through training camp. Okay, who are the guys that we can really rely on? But it's been exciting. I mean, I think we got a lot of guys that can make plays. You guys, a name that a lot of the fans may not be familiar with is Blake Watson. transfer running back from ODU, back-to-back 1,000-yard rusher. Really excited about him. just what he's able to do. He was a little bit banged up in the spring, but man, his coming out party is going to be September 2nd in the season opener. And then Jay Ducker, another transfer a couple years ago, there was a 1,000-yard rusher at Northern Illinois, a guy that's, as we've seen be really consistent, had the big run in the bowl game. And then obviously you guys have heard me talk about Sutton Smith. He was really only our true freshman that played last year for us on the field in significant reps. So excited about what he can do. Don't forget about Brandon Thomas. Guys, Brandon Thomas 3 years ago ran for over 150 yards versus Mississippi State. We know what he's capable. And we got a bunch of guys that we're planning on trusting in that room.
You can't have a great running back without a line. I thought last year maybe that was one of the weakest areas. I know you were concerned. You brought in a new O-line coach. How hard is it to bring in a new guy with new eyes, and how much better do you think the O-line will be?
Yeah, look, I thought the changes were necessary in there. That's unfortunately some of these things that go along with this profession. Jeff Myers, our new offensive line coach, is a younger guy, a new energy, a new set of eyes, and we work well together. Part of it, you guys know I'm going to be involved in that room, and especially in the run game, and it hasn't been where we need to be. I always put the blame on myself to get it back to where it needs to be. But Coach Myers and his group have done a phenomenal job. We've got guys at the offensive line position that we've got high expectations for. You think about a guy like Jonah Gamble that started some for us as a redshirt freshman at left tackle, back at his starting position at left guard. Jacob Likes, a multi-year starter, local kid, starting at center. Davion Carter started for us a lot of games last year at right guard. And then the question mark, like everybody should be asking, is who are the tackles? And we've got competition still going to this day, and that's the nature of it, and that's part of it. But we've got a lot of athletes there at the tackle position, feel really comfortable with it. We'll see what shakes out by the time we kick the ball off.
But what about on the other side, them goons on defense? How is that defense looking and coming together?
Yeah, we talked about the depth of the secondary, very, very excited about it. And then, you're gonna, the fans out there are going to hear names like Jeff Canton-Arcu that played a lot of reps for us last year. And then you talk about the guys, right? We know Greg Rubin's going to go out there and play the local playmaker. But the name that a lot of the fans have been asking about, Simeon Blair, the transfer from Arkansas. He's been phenomenal. I think he's got a chance to be one of the special players in this conference and in our program. And then, we've got a lot of guys that are going to be getting rotation there in the secondary, keep them fresh. And then you look at what we can also do at other positions. A guy that Jalen Allen, right? He's back for another year. Really expecting high things from him. I mean, he's one of those that can come off the edge. You guys have had the chance to visit with him some, and just a phenomenal young man. So really excited about him. And you look at guys like Kermonte Hamilton, right? A local star that's going to play defensive end. William Whitlow, some other names. Jalen Joyner's another name we added to the mix. And let me tell you guys, inside, we've got a slew of guys. Literally was meeting with the defensive staff earlier. We feel like we got 8 guys that can rotate in there at the defensive tackle spot. Something that I haven't been able to say for a long time. Obviously, hopefully they're making plays, but really excited about the depth overall of our defense. The goons, as we like to call them. I tell them, everybody, if we hold every team to 0 points, I'm sure Coach Barnes is all for that, and so am I. We'll be just fine.
A lot of new faces and a lot of new teams. Here you go, new conference. Thoughts on that?
We understand that conference realignment's one of those things that are going on. I kind of keep my blinders on and say, hey, we'll work towards whatever we can get to, but all I can do is focus on game one. But I'm excited about our conference, right? It's a lot of new things. We've traveled all over in this conference and seen different places. You get the familiarity with stadiums and fan bases, and you're going to miss some of those old rivalries that we had. But sure enough, some new ones will develop, right? The Battle of the Bones is back on. A lot of the fans are excited about playing UAB in Birmingham, an easier drive. It's still exciting, right? We get Navy back here on a Thursday night on ESPN. Some of those things are still going to be exciting to be able to have some of those traditional rivalries back in place that were there. We know what SMU and Tulane are. I mean, people are predicting them as top 25 teams. I'm excited about this conference. I think our fan base should be as well, because they're going to see some new names and new faces as well, not only on our roster, but coming and playing in Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium.
We've heard from Coach Silverfield, and coming up next, we'll hear from both coordinators and 4 players. Stick with us.
You're watching The Ryan Silverfield Show, presented by AutoZone.
Welcome back to The Ryan Silverfield Show. Memphis football has been known for prolific offenses over the years, something they hope to get back to in year 2 under Tim Cramsey. Tim, how would you assess your first season here?
Overall, I thought the first season went pretty well. Got good, me and Seth's relationship really built during the first season. And, I always say you can feel like you get to know someone in spring ball and through the summertime, but until we get together on Saturday nights in the fall and really understand each other and learn how each other works, that's when you really get to build the relationship and build the communication as far as an offense coordinator, quarterback. And I think that, right now we're thinking alike, right now we're speaking alike. For the most part, he knows when we get to game situations, he knows what's going to be called. He knows what I like. I know what he likes, and that's huge. And to me, that's the biggest part of offense coordinator quarterback relationship.
In your experience, how big can the jump from year 1 to year 2 be?
It should be a big jump, and I say that because you're more comfortable with everything that's going on, more comfortable with the system, more comfortable with the players in the system. Now, granted, modern day college football, there's new players that are here from other places and transfers and all that type of stuff. But, again, the core part of Seth and myself and Jacob likes as a center and understand each other. And, I think, year 2 is always a little bit better when you just understand the program, understand the conference that you're going in. Expectations are it should be a much better second year.
You said it yourself a couple weeks ago, no matter what level of football you're at, quarterbacks are the biggest determining factor in winning and losing games. You've got a good one, Seth. What have you seen from him so far this summer, and the comfort level and the scheme and everything that goes with that?
The maturity level and the confidence level from him is the process has really picked up. His leadership, his confidence in himself to be able to go over and grab a receiver and talk to him and go over and grab the offense line and get him going. To me, that's something that sounds like it should be easy for a quarterback, but as a young quarterback that he was 2 years ago, he has grown into that, where now in his mind, rightfully so, this is his team.
Seth Hennigan going into year 3, but this is also the first time you've had the same offensive coordinator going back into a season. What kind of difference has that made so far?
I feel like it's made a world of differences. Just being with Coach Cramsey, coming into our second year, his trust in me and my trust in him, I feel like it's grown a large amount over our time together. So just to have him back another year, he's a great offensive coordinator, and I'm just blessed he's here.
A lot of new playmakers coming into this year's season. What do you make of the skill position guys and new guys coming in and molding with some of the returning faces?
Yeah, they've been a great addition to our program and to our team. They're not only great football players, but they're great people too. I've hung out a lot with Blake and Demir, and Towski's been a great addition to our team as well. But they're great players, and we're excited to have them on our team and see what they're going to do for us this season.
Jacob Likes, why did you decide to run it back one more year?
Well, my plan was to play 5 years here. I felt like I wasn't done with what I wanted to do. And, I had my redshirt season. So, I got one more year. Really got another year with COVID if I want to use it. So, no reason not to come back.
Do you feel like just kind of the vibe around the team, the atmosphere has been what you've wanted?
Yeah, no, it's been very competitive. O-line versus D-line, every single day we've been getting after it. DBs, wide receivers, man, they've been competing all camp. It's a lot of competition in this camp right now. And I feel like, the team, like I said, we're competing hard on the field, going after it with each other. But we're also, I feel like as a locker room, way closer, than we were last year.
All right, let's switch gears from offense to defense, where we have another second-year coordinator in Matt Barnes. All right, best segment of the show because we got two guys named Matt on here at the same time. Matt Barnes, year 1 here at Memphis. How would you assess it?
I think we laid some good groundwork here defensively. I think we went from roughly 90th in the country in defense the year before to roughly 50th in the country. So certainly made some strides. We look to make more strides this year, but anytime you're bringing in a new system and getting to know your players and players are getting to know you, there's always going to be some growing pains. So we look to work through those this year and excited for what's to come.
It was your first year as a defensive coordinator at this level. What was the biggest learning lesson you took away?
You got to make sure that you are getting the right guys on the field. You can have all the confidence in the scheme that you want, but at the end of the day, there's an old adage in coaching, and it's true that it's not the X's and O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes. So, just keeping the guys motivated that might not be ready to play week 1 and continuing to create competition to find ways to always shake it out so that you get the best guys on the field.
Jalen Allen, why'd you decide to run it back one more time?
I was actually just saying this the other day. It was a lot of reasons, I love the team. I feel like we had some unfinished business. I feel like it was just things that I left on the table. So I just definitely think it was time to come back. finish what we had to get finished.
Do you feel like you guys maybe left some meat on the bone last year in terms of what you could have been?
Oh yeah, definitely. I know our main emphasis of this year was just finishing games, finishing plays, finishing practice. So just finishing, being a part of the team and just excelling it to the next level, I want to be a part of it.
All right, Simeon Blair, welcome. One of the new faces this year, coming from across the river, Arkansas transfer. What drew you here?
Just the culture here. I felt like it was time for me to get a new scenery, get into a scheme that fits me better. And just meeting with Coach Barnes and Coach Silverfield, I seen that fire in them, and it excited me again about, why I love football.
When you think back to some of your initial conversations with Ryan and Coach Barnes, what stuck out to you and how quickly did you figure out that this was the place you wanted to be?
Really just, I met with Coach Silverfield first, and he just talked about how he wanted the culture and how he wanted to get it back to, the standard, and also just getting back to winning the conference. And that's all we really talked about was winning, and that's something that I never done was win the conference championship, and that's something that I feel like I want to do now. And with Coach Barnes, it was just seeing his playbook, seeing his scheme, seeing how fired up he is about the game of football, how much he loved it. And it just drove me, and it made me ready to play for him right then. And that's when I knew my decision was final.
You spent years in the SEC.
Yes, sir.
Describe the intensity of playing there and how that prepares you for, I imagine, anything on a football field.
Just the urgency and preparation. A lot of the stuff is done before the game. The stuff is done where can't nobody see it. So I feel like that's one of the biggest things that's going to help me translate over into this conference. Just the preparation, just the urgency to correct mistakes and just be ready to play at all times.
You were captain at Arkansas. How important is that leadership role and how big of a factor is that in what you want to bring here?
It's a huge thing. We talked about not too long ago really just being a great teammate. Having everybody just being great teammates will lead to success for everybody. And you don't also have to be the best player to be a great teammate. I just feel like that's going to be a big part and a big role into who we are this year.
It's Bethune-Cookman racing up from Daytona for the season opener. We'll preview that game. Coming up next.
You're watching The Ryan Silverfield Show, presented by AutoZone. Let's take a look at the AutoZone road ahead.
The beginning of the journey is Bethune-Cookman, a team the Tigers have never played.
Really excited, obviously, the season opener, regardless of the opponent, right? A chance to open up at home. And that's so huge, not only for our team, but for our fans as well. We're excited to get back out them, show them some of these new faces we've talked about, get out there on a roll and see what happens. Obviously, in game one, we've got to make sure we're handling our own business, right? We're going to see a lot of new faces for them, a new staff at Bethune-Cookman, and go out there and see what we're capable of.
And what do you do to have your players to have a mentality to look at a Bethune-Cookman as like an AAC championship game? Don't take this game lightly.
I think with any game, we say, hey, okay, whether it's game 1, game 14, right? This is the most important game. It's the next game, and it's our starting of the season. And so I think that's so important. Our guys are going to be dialed in. They're going to have great energy. It's really getting them to play within the system. Understand that our scheme's got to go out there. We have to execute at a high level. It doesn't matter who we're playing. Go out and find a way to win the game.
One thing, the Heat won't take either team by surprise.
No doubt, right? They've been practicing in, obviously in Daytona and the state of Florida, and obviously we've had some Memphis Heat this summer.
That was tonight's AutoZone Road Ahead. AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination and official sponsor of Tiger Athletics. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Cannot wait for this one. Don't forget, game time is 6 o'clock. We put a bow on this one in just a minute.
You're watching The Ryan Silverfield Show, presented by AutoZone.
Thanks for joining us late night. We do this every week now from here on out.
The Ryan Silverfield Show is presented by AutoZone. When you've got car trouble, you want help from #1. So if you've got a battery problem, head to AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone. And by Conway Services, the official HVAC partner of Tiger Athletics. Chick-fil-A, we didn't invent chicken, just the chicken sandwich. RJ Young, technology solutions that power your business. Tennessee Lottery, turning dollars into dreams. This copyrighted telecast is an exclusive presentation of Sivlerfield under the broadcasting rights granted by the University of Memphis. Reuse of this presentation is prohibited without the expressed written consent of the University of Memphis and Sivlerfield.